Veteran Sharpshooter is my most played class in Darktide by quite a bit, and it doesn't take a green skin to realise that the more DACA, the better. So I'm going to be going over the different feats and, in my opinion, what is good and what is bad, and what I'd recommend for the higher threat levels, mainly Heresy and Damnation. So your choices might be different. Awesome, let me know down below why. And some of the descriptions for the feats are wrong. It was the same with Vermintide too. So yeah, if I get something wrong, I apologise, and hopefully Fat Shark will update them soon. But yep, let's get into it. The first row we're going to look at is unlocked at Trust level 5. And at the top here we have Confirmed Kill. Replenish 25% toughness on elite kill and a further 25% toughness over time. I want to correct that. I believe it's not just elites but also specialists and Ogren. So anytime you kill something difficult or challenging enemy, you're going to get basically 50% of your toughness back over a few seconds, which is really nice. Next we have Exhilarating Takedown. Replenish 10% toughness on ranged weak spot kill. And lastly, at arm's length, replenish 5% toughness a second, while more than 8 meters from enemies. So this one is pretty useless at the higher threat levels because there's more enemies spawning all the time. And even if you are using Camo Expert in combo with it, there's always going to be somebody on you, and this is very dangerous because you can go a long time without recovering your toughness. So it's very dangerous, so I wouldn't recommend at arm's length at all. Maybe in the lower threat levels if you're just starting out. But for the most part, Confirmed Kill, in my eyes, is just by far the best. It's a no-brainer, really. For the next row that is unlocked at Trust level 10, we're going to be looking at 3 nice ones. 3 that can really change up how your gameplay works. The first is Sniper. Deal up to 20% increased range damage based on how far away you are from your target. The damage increase is reduced the closer you are. Tactical Reload, plus 20% reload speed if you have ammo in your weapon. And lastly, Demolition Stockpile. Replenish 1 grenade every 60 seconds. So every minute you get a grenade back. This one depends on what weapon you're using and just overall your playstyle. The Demolition Stockpile can be very useful if you're going with the very specific grenade build that is available, and it's very obvious what it is whenever you start looking at some of the feats that are available, just up to level 30. But depending on your weapon, I would either recommend Sniper or Tactical Reload. For example, if you are using a weapon that is decent at range, this can make taking out specialists that spawn in very, very easy, as well as elites. This is my favourite. I never really feel the need to even go down a Tactical Reload, even if I'm using the Combat Shotgun, the Bolter, the Stub Revolver. 20% reload is nice, but one of the feats at level 30, primarily Sustained Fire, means that even if I do really need a full magazine very quickly, Volley Fire is off cooldown that often that I never really have to worry about the reload. So in my opinion, that extra 20% damage at ranged is very nice, is very, very good. And even with a weapon like the Bolter that has a slow reload, plus 20% damage from a Bolter round is also very nice. So in my opinion, and I do understand that Tactical Reload could be very nice, I really like Sniper. I think it's nasty as things go. And with the Veteran, you're going to be spending most of your time engaging enemies from ranged. So that extra 20% damage will, if you can keep it range, it's going to be in play most of the time. The third row really comes down to what you're comfortable with and what your team is comprised of. So at the top here we have Bio-Optic Targeting. Volley Fire designates non-Ogren elites and specialists as priority targets for all allies in Coherency. Next we have Demolition Team. You and allies in Coherency have a 5% chance to gain a grenade on elite enemy kill, which can be nice. And lastly, Covering Fire. When you kill an enemy with a ranged attack, allies in melee range of the target replenish 10% toughness. So you can just see right from the beginning here that it really is going to depend on what your team is made up of. So if you've got Zealots and Ogren who are primarily going to be in melee, then this Covering Fire can help them quite a bit, especially if you're using Sniper, which means that enemies are dropping faster around them. They're just going to be up constantly. Their toughness is never going to drop as long as you're able to support them from range. But also with Demolition Team, if you've got other veterans on your team, Ogren, then this could be indispensable also, giving them more grenades, because at both Heresy and Damnation, there's going to be elites spawning all the time. This actually might also work with specialists, I'm not sure. A lot of the audio descriptions, or not audio, sorry, text descriptions in this game are wrong, and I've seen it for some of the other classes too. They're just not explained correctly, or they're missing information. So this could be as useful as covering fire for a different reason. But bioptic targeting is what I go with for the most part, because whenever I'm playing with randoms, the more information I can give them visually, the better. So if they know that we're going into a room and there's going to be, I don't know, a few shotgunners there, or, maybe even an Ogren pair, then that's very useful also. This comes down to what you're more comfortable using and what you think your team's going to benefit from. The feat unlocked at trust level 20, these are very dependent as well on your personal playstyle. So at the top we have Unwavering Focus, plus 25% toughness damage reduction from ranged attacks during volley fire. Next we have Duck and Dive, dodging, sprinting or sliding to avoid ranged attacks grants 20% stamina. And lastly, Camo Expert, while standing perfectly still, just like Drax, enemies are significantly less likely to target you. This comes down to how you play. So me personally, I like to stay at range, and if I do trigger volley fire at range and there are quite a few enemies like in the area, because I'm using Camo Expert, which means I'm not really going to be seen, yeah, that doesn't really matter to me. If I am really expecting that my team's going to fall apart and I still have a chance to change some of my loadout, then I might put on Unwavering Focus, so that you do get to volley fire quite often. And that could be useful depending on what level 30 feat you're going with. But again, it just comes down to what you're using or what you're looking to do. If you've got a more close quarters weapon equipped, then maybe Duck and Dive is what you should be going for. And if you're like me, you prefer to use ranged weapons, then Camo Expert might be more your speed. For the 5th row, we get to some of the heavy hitters, and at the top here we have Frag Storm. Frag grenades apply 8 stacks of bleed to all enemies hit. Next we have Deadshot. While using your ranged weapon's alternate fire, which is basically for the most part just aiming down sights, you have a 25% increased critical hit chance and 60% reduced sway. That's basically the recoil, but lose 10% stamina every second and an additional 5% stamina for each shot. At the bottom we have One After Another, plus 30% reload speed on elite kill. So yeah, again, it's all about what you want to be doing with your build. You can see with Frag Storm that will be very useful with Demolition Stockpile or a Demolition Team. So the more grenades you have, the more often the better it's going to be for Frag Storm, and you can just build around that. With Deadshot, I find this in a pretty much most useful thing here for me. The 25% increased critical hit chance is nasty, plus the reduced sway means that weapons that would otherwise be very unyieldy and very unstable become stable. So even though I'm losing stamina, usually I'm at range anyway, so if I am expecting enemies to try and close the distance with me, then I can back off, get my melee weapon out and try to regain as much stamina as quickly as possible. But yeah, it very much depends on how you're playing the game. If you're going to be close quarters, then maybe you prefer one after the other, which is the plus 30% reload speed on elite kill. It might also be special, I don't know, man. It's so confusing. Half the information isn't written down or anything in this game. It's very frustrating, but reload speed is nice. But we're going to get on to the next row, and I'll explain why reload speed really just isn't a big deal for me, honestly. So finally, we move on to the last and the most important row, in my opinion. At the top here, we have Sustained Fire. Volley fire, reload your weapon and replenish your 60% toughness. Killing a designated enemy during volley fire refreshes its duration. Counterfire, plus 25% weak spot damage during volley fire. Volley fire now designates all shooters as priority targets, and killing a designated enemy during volley fire refreshes its duration. They're all, basically all three of these refresh the duration of volley fire if you kill a designated enemy. And lastly, the bigger they are, plus 50% damage to Ogrins and Monstrosities during volley fire. Volley fire designates Ogrins and Monstrosities as priority targets, so if you're using like Bioptics for example, it will now show the Ogrin. Same with the shooters as priority targets for counterfire, and killing a designated enemy during volley fire refreshes its duration. So I, at higher threat levels, find Sustained Fire to be the most useful and the most clutch. The ability to just instantaneously reload your weapon as often as you can, because volley fire doesn't really have a long cooldown, has saved my ass and my teammates' asses more times than I can count, really. The 60% toughness replenishment as well is very nice. So it really comes down to what you're looking to do with it. Plus 25% weak spot damage during volley fire is nice too, because of course make every shot count gives you plus 15%, so that's what, 40%. increased weak spot damage. So if you're using the bolter and you want to pop counterfire, and you've already got a fully reloaded bolter or magazine, then you could potentially take down a room full of specials and elites very quickly if your aim is good enough. With the bigger they are, plus 50% damage to Ogryns and Monstrosities, there are a lot of Ogryn pairs and Ogryn spawning in Damnation specifically, so that could make taking them out a lot easier. I don't find them to be all that difficult anyway. If you get the right perks on your weapons, for taking out unyielding enemies, they're not really much of a challenge, really. The Ogryn are a bit of a joke, so are Monstrosities. Personally, it would be one of these two. And I honestly just think Sustained Fire is more useful. It doesn't give you any sort of damage increase. It reloads your magazine straight away as soon as you hit Volley Fire, and gives you 60% toughness back. So if you're in a tight spot, it can save your ass. If you are running with some of the other reload perks, maybe, or reload feats, then Counterfire could also be very useful. But again, it comes down to what you want to do and how you want to play. I have looked at a number of other veteran players' thoughts on feats and other videos on YouTube, and most people do seem to rely more on anything that increases their reload speed. But the way I think about it is that if I'm able to pop Volley Fire and instantly have a full magazine, plus the critical hit chance from Deadshot and the reduced sway, and the increased damage from Sniper, that means that I'm going to be able to take down enemies very quickly and very efficiently at the drop of a hat. These other two, Counterfire and the bigger they are, can be useful, but like I said, if you have the right perks for dealing with Ogryn, which I mostly do on most of my weapons, unyielding enemies, carapace armor enemies, then they're just not even a problem. Without even having Volley Fire active or ready, Ogryn are never an issue. Just never an issue. You can easily kite them, you can easily bait their attacks and take them down. Whenever there's a lot more enemies around you, and the Ogryn are in play, then they can be a problem. But Volley Fire, it's off cooldown that regularly, that, you have it whenever you need it, really. And I just think Sustained Fire's much more reliable and can save your ass much more than just dealing a little bit of extra damage to certain enemy types. But that's pretty much the way I think. That's my thoughts, that's my opinions. Yours may be different, and I'd like to know if they are why and how you look at the different scenarios. But yep, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and yeah, let me know what you think down below. Hope you're enjoying playing Darktide and slaying the enemies of the Emperor. And of course, like always, we'll see you next time. Bye bye.